Hello, my name's Duncan, and welcome to Back Away from Donkey and Bath Books. And as a sort of opposite to my best books of 2025, this is my worst books. And it doesn't mean these are all bad books, it just means that, to me, I didn't get on with them and I didn't like them for various reasons. I'm not going to go into huge amounts of detail with most of them, I think, but I hope you find this interesting, and hopefully you might find the reasons behind why I dislike them interesting as well. So let's start off with a number 1, or number 10. Am I counting them down? They're in no particular order anyway. So let's get on to the first one. First one is Farnham's Freehold by Robert Heinlein. And I like most of Heinlein's stuff. So this one was surprised I didn't like it. Not surprised because it's quite an infamous book. But basically it follows Hugh Farnham, his wife, his daughter's friend, and Joseph, their employee. A nuclear war starts going on, and they go into a nuclear bunker that he's personally built in his garden, and a nuclear bomb directly hits them, which basically chucks them into the future. And we get into this future, which is basically almost racism is reversed. It's everything I've heard about it. To me, it is racist, it's sexist, it's everything. It's very hard to describe. I see what he was trying to do. He was trying to make a satire of it, but it just doesn't work. It really, to me, it doesn't work. I heard a quote from Charles Stross saying that it's like a rich white guy trying to explain racism to everybody. And the other quote I heard, which I thought was it N.K. Jemisin? Or somebody basically said it's a anti-racist book the KKK would love. For me it just doesn't work at all. But I see what he was trying to do, and it just fails on so many levels, I'm afraid. So that's Farnham's Freehold by Robert Heinlein, and I think as much as I like Heinlein, I think I'll try and forget about that one. My next one of the books I think was my worst reads of last year is The Long Walk by Stephen King. I finally got around to reading it. I meant to read it for years. I've heard people say this was their favourite Stephen King books. It's the first novel he wrote, I believe, but it wasn't published until it was published under the Bachman Books later. And it's about a group of dystopian thing when these group of kids walk this competition that they just walk until they drop, and if you slow down everybody gets killed and what have you. I think part of my problem with it is King's obsession with horny teenage boys and what was going through their brains. And as a former teenage boy, I can tell you, if you were under that sort of pressure, some of the stuff he was talking about would be the last things that is on your mind. The lack of context didn't help. I needed a bit more context around the whole thing. I get that it was meant to be a metaphor for like the Vietnam War and conscription and things like this, but I watched the film afterwards, and the film does it much better. I think the film is a case where the film is far better than the book. I may have to go back and revisit the book now I've seen the film, but I do think the film is far better than the book, and the film gets across its points really, really well. But I think is hate too strong a word, but I really dislike this book. But yeah, so that's Stephen King, The Long Walk. Next one is Matt Haig, The Humans. This is my first Matt Haig. My wife, I think, has read The Midnight Library, which she liked. This just didn't quite work for me. It's about a alien who comes down and possesses the body of a professor, and it's obviously the alien taking control and learning what it is to be human. And that's what the whole book is about, is what it is to be human. And I can't put my finger on it, but it just did not work for me at all. It really didn't work for me, and it's one of these things I can't put my finger on it. But yeah, it doesn't mean I'm probably going to give Matt Haig another go, because I've heard good things about him. So I've heard The Midnight Library. I think that might be my next port of call on his work. So that was The Humans by Matt Haig. The next one's quite a biggie, and I'll probably get lynched by people for this. The Grapes of Wrath by Steinbeck. Okay, yeah, I know it's meant to be a great American novel. There was a group of people reading it last year, and I read along with them, and and there was discussions going on, and I didn't join in them because I really disliked this book. His writing style, yeah, it's pretty prose, but pretty prose doesn't do it all to me. I found the characters rather thin, and their only existence to be some sort of weird metaphor, and it just. Also, I found his author voice rather felt rather condescending at points. I just didn't get on with it at all, and I must admit, for me to I probably will try some more Steinbeck at some point. I'll probably not shorter one because maybe I'm missing something here, but no, it really didn't do anything for me, and it's pretty. And I think I can see why people rate it, but yeah, it just didn't work for me at all. So I'm gonna speak less about that. Stop my lynching getting on. So next one, I'm not sure what number I'm up to. It's The Underworld Running Club by Adrian Walker. The main problem was the main character, whingy, annoying. It's a post-apocalyptic one when this meteor is going to hit the Earth, and basically his wife and child are down the other end of the country, and basically has to make his way down to the other end of the country. But he starts off as a sort of basically an unlikable person, and he keeps saying how he's got to change and changing, but he doesn't change. He doesn't grow. He whinges, and then when everything comes towards the end, he really hasn't changed. And I don't say that main characters have to be likable, but there has to be something on them that makes you want to read about them. And he wasn't, because he wasn't growing, he wasn't changing, he wasn't learning from stuff. Or doing anything like that, and I just disliked it, and I was really disappointed because I was looking forward to this as an ex-runner. Yes, look at me now, you can't believe I used to be a runner, but yes, as an ex-runner, who used to run long distances, I was really looking forward to this, and it just didn't work. Also, it didn't feel like he had the mindset of a runner as well. But yeah, so yes, Adrian Walker, End of the World Running Club. I know there's 2 sequels as well, but I wouldn't go near them now. Let's look at number. I have no idea what number I'm on, which I said I think in the last one. So on to the next one. Pride and Prejudice with Zombies. Seth Grahame-Smith. I read this because I think it was Gavin from Genre Books who was reading some Jane Austen. He wanted it and said how good it is. So I thought, let's go for the opposite one. Pride and Prejudice with Zombies. Not as a novel, it doesn't work. The first couple of chapters would have made an interesting short story. Once you've heard some society party where zombies come in and eat everybody, that's about it. And that's basically what the rest of the book goes on about. And it got repetitive and just a bit dull. But I think there's sequels to this as well. I know did they make a film of it? Or am I imagining that? But anyway, it was a funny idea that was overstretched. That's why I didn't like it. Next one was Get in the Van by Henry Rollins. I like Henry Rollins. I saw the Rollins band several times when they were around in the late 80s, early 90s. 3 or 4 times I've seen Henry Rollins' spoken word shows, and I always found him an interesting guy. This was his diary entries from when he was in Black Flag, the band Black Flag. And basically he's put them down into this book, Get in the Van, but there is no real context to them. I found it quite a difficult read, because they're like journal entries. You have him going to gigs, and basically a lot of them is just snippets. It's like the gig went well, or they erupted in violence and everybody got beaten up, or they beat everybody else up. And there's a bunch of racism and misogyny chucked in, which, yes, it was a time, it was what people were doing, but it's like entry after entry like that, and there was very little context or reason behind it. It's incredibly nihilistic. And I said, I know these were entries at the time, but it just, as a piece of literature, the book, which is what it meant to be, it's meant to be the book and the journal entries. If you'd whack some context around them and some more descriptions, it may have made it a far more readable piece of book. But yeah, I just hated it. If you want to have a look, there's a review up on Goodreads. I did it, full review, which is also up on my blog. But yeah, no, didn't like it. Anyway, which was surprising really, because I've been meaning to read it for years. This next one is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Yes, I finally read it. I've seen the film. I quite like the film, but it's another case of the book being, it's, as a child of the the 70s and 80s, you would think I'd quite like all these pop culture references. I hate the term pop culture. Is it just me? Yeah. But all these references, but it started grating after a while when you have something mentioned and then they say like that, and it just all felt very forced. All these references felt forced, and I'm a little confused. It confuses me as how this got so popular, because obviously people like me remember a lot of this stuff and we know a lot of these references, but lots of younger people, how did they do it? Because it's not great literature, it's not written well, I'm highly confused by it. How it sold so well, how it did so well. But yeah, Ready Player One, really didn't like it. But I said the film's okay. Edison's Conquest of Mars, 1898. This was published by Garrett, this was his name, P. Service. This was an unofficial sequel to War of the Worlds. It was published in a magazine in America, and basically what he tried to do was put it around Thomas Edison, even though Edison was still alive. It comes across as very US-centric. It's not very well written. There's all these ideas in there. To me, it's only worth reading if you're interested in the history of science fiction, like I am. Because as a book to read, it's not good, and not a shine on Wells. There's quite a few funny sort of empire things. You've got this a weird bit in there is you've got this meeting with Edison and that who are trying to stop this invasion from the Martians, and they're calling all these big leaders from around the world, Queen Victoria, someone who I can't remember, Austro-Hungarian Empire, and all this. And you're thinking, but you're a young country, so why would you be in charge? It was just really, really strange. Very, very weird. But I said, if you're interested in the history of science fiction, it's worth a look, but it's up on Project Gutenberg, but it's not a great piece of literature, and it was not a really good book to read. And now, on to my final choice. My Side by King Kong by Walter Wager. This is a book meant to be the side of the story of King Kong Sing by King Kong's side. It's a joke that got stretched out, not particularly well written. It was probably a funny idea, but it made me smile a couple of points, but it's just not very good. It's just not very good. So yeah, that is my collection of my my least favourite reads of last year. So I just got in before the end of January. Be interested in other people's opinions there. Oh yes, I know I picked something like The Grapes of Wrath, which is a great American novel, but it's what I got on with, and it's just my opinions. So if you like these books that I don't like, fair enough. That's great for you. Just keep on reading. Anyway, I'll speak to you all very soon, and get ready, Filmtastic February is just round the corner. I will have a video out in the next day or so, which will be the prequel one, telling you what I am doing personally for it, and linking you to Annie and Roy, who are doing it, and obviously it's Annie's event at Obscure Book Adventures. So yes, just keep your eye out for that. Anyway, I'll speak to you all very soon, and bye for now.